In this basic preferences, you'll set up your preferences for import. You'll see how to create optimized or proxy media. You'll see when to use background rendering, and you'll look at destination settings. We're going to look at how to set up the basic preferences, and at a later tutorial in the advanced section we will look at more detailed preference setup. So to select our preferences, we go to the Final Cut menu and select Preferences, and our first selection is General. There are only two settings here, the time display and the dialog warnings. Time display, leave it as it is. Dialog warnings, if you have changed any warnings in your preferences, you can reset this to the factory default. Let's move to the editing section, and I wouldn't change anything here from a basic point of view. If you need to look at these, go to the advanced tutorial. From the playback point, you have a choice of whether you have background rendering turned on or off. It's very useful, but for a slower computer, background rendering can hinder the editing process, slow it down. In general, even with a fast computer, it probably is a good idea to have the background rendering turned off. That's unticked when you're actually editing, and then when you finish the edit or you want to move to have a cup of tea or coffee, then turn the background rendering on. Other than that, I'd leave everything else at the default. For the import section, you can choose whether to copy your files or leave those files in place. Now this has some major ramifications. If you copy the files, you duplicate the media. But if you leave the files in place, then Final Cut only has a link to those files on the hard disk, and if you move the files on the hard disk, then Final Cut will lose the connection to those. So you need to think about what you want to do here. If you have plenty of storage space, then use the copy files to hard disk choice. Creating optimized and proxy media is another item that has major ramifications. If your media is compressed as a camera file, then it's a good idea to create optimized media. If you have a faster computer, you may not need the optimized media to be able to edit, but it will always be a smoother process that when you do have optimized media. So my initial choice would be to say yes and create optimized media. And also here you have the option to create proxy media. Now for slower computers, this is very useful. Its downside is that when you create proxy media, it takes longer on the import process to transcode that footage. You can still use the files in your editing process while proxy media is being transcoded in the background, but that will slow down the editing process at that time until the proxy media is created. The other selections here I would leave as they are. Don't change those from a basic point of view. And finally, we're going to have a look at the destination settings. And these are the places where you will send or share your files to, share your movies to. And it's tied in with the share menu. Or you can also find the share menu under the file menu. These choices here in the sidebar are the presets that you can send your files to. Now what we have here is the ability to add items to this list. So we can take presets from the right hand side and add them to our default list. And equally, we can take out items that are in the default list by using the minus button here, and it will take out your unwanted destination. So export file audio only can be deleted, as I don't need this. We can add to this menu
more detailed items. So in the export file that we have here, we can see currently it's exporting, or it's preset to export as video and audio. We could certainly now add a new destination. This is another export file. You'll see it becomes file 1, and we could change that one to audio only. So this one here exports as video and audio, and this one exports as audio only, and we can change the name of this one to export file audio only. We'll see a lot more about how to change these items and how to use these share items in the export lessons later.